we beginning on beekeeping. Do we have any beekeepers in the session today? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. Do we have any people? Yes. Oh, that is great. So do we have any people who are interested in beekeeping?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. Great, great, great. So before I go towards that, let me tell you one most important thing. That is that while beekeeping, even though there is a chance that bee might sting you, it only happens in rare cases if you take the precautionary measures. And also, let me tell you, let us say that you have one bee box or one beehive that you are maintaining. You only need to open it for 3 minutes in 15 days. So just try to comprehend how less you are going to be with the bees and how more they are going to be working for you. And then we can begin with the second part. So before we go ahead, the question comes, what is beekeeping and why does it matter? It might seem that nowadays we are not feeding much on honey, or we have gone towards sugar and other alternatives which are sugar-free substances. So before that, basically the sweetness factor of any food came from honey. In many religious practices, honey has been used. And other than that, there are multiple chemicals, multiple products which we get from honeybees, which are used in our day-to-day lives. Let me just show it to you. We'll be going back and forth a bit. So coming towards the honey product, these many products are what you see from the honeybees, one of which obviously is honey. The second is beeswax. If we have any zoology or botany students who would have taken the course in their college, you might remember the dissection trays which are made from the beeswax. I also remember my days at Jim's Jungle Resort, and they have excellent beeswax candles there. So those are just refreshing and also a better alternative to the traditional wax candles. That is where the beeswax is used. Along with that, a lot of cosmetic products, especially the I don't exactly know what do ladies use, but something that helps the makeup stick on their face or on their skin is made from beeswax. I think it is known as foundation, or please correct me if I'm wrong. That is one thing. Second thing is propolis. Propolis is one more substance which is very sticky, which is very resin like. I want to focus your attention on any natural hive that you might have seen. One thing is for sure, you might have seen it at a height, maybe on a tree or maybe on the balcony of a building. And at such a great height, a huge hive is still stuck to that structure. It is not falling in spite of having a lot of honey in it, a lot of bees on it. So what makes it stick is the propolis. Like I said, it is a sticky resinous substance, but it has now also been used as an adhesive. So if anyone is into beekeeping, they know that we can extract, we can take the propolis after the bees have made it, after they have stored it in the hive, and it can be sold for quite a good price after processing it. The next thing is the royal jelly. In case of royal jelly, if you remember, can anyone just tell me where the royal jelly is used? Apart from what is written there, why do honeybees use it? I have mentioned it in the first.
Honeybees give royal jelly to the little honeybees who are about to become the
Queen, right?
queen. Yes.
Yeah, that is true. So the royal jelly is actually being fed to the queen bees, and also it is highly proteinaceous. Many medicines today use this substance in them. So royal jelly is one of the thing which is used. And then comes the bee pollen. So what is bee pollen? Basically, when the honeybees come back from collecting the nectar from the flowers, all of their body is actually stuck to the all of the pollens are actually stuck to their body. Now, what do they do with the pollens? They store it. And just like we humans make bread by baking it, honeybees will store the pollens in their cells, in their hive cells, and use it to make bee breads or pollen breads. So how is that made? They'll be focusing all these pollens, they'll be putting it into certain cells which have highest amount of sunlight coming onto them. Eventually, after months, the pollen start getting harder, and also they get baked a bit, and finally it is converted into bread. It does not taste like our bread. If anyone is to feed on bee pollens, it again needs to be processed or added in some other foods. Coming back to one more thing, why does it matter? So now let me again take your focus to another point. Imagine a person who has a farm of about 2 to 3 acres, which is a standard farm size for an average farmer in India. There are people who have more than 20-30 acres. There are who do a farming in less than 1 acre as well. But if you have a farm size of somewhere around 3 to 5 acres, one box of honeybee can increase your earning, your output from the farm up to 40%. So what happens is, the moment, so let us say that in your area you're growing a fruit such as custard apple, or you have planted potatoes for the season, and after all the harvesting season you will be gaining about 100 potatoes from your farm. If you have a bee box installed, your number will automatically go towards 140, definitely more than 125 in any case. So that is one of the thing which why the government is also urging a lot of farmers to go towards beekeeping. They also have certain subsidies for them. We won't be discussing that today, but yeah. Coming to the next part, what are the essential tools and how do you set up your first hive? Obviously, the first essential tool is the bee box. You get the bee box from the government. There are private beekeepers which sell their bee box. A standard bee box of this size, along with the honeybees, along with the good queen bee, goes somewhere around 5,000 to 8,000 depending on the region. There are three main things which I want to show you over here. First is that apart from the covers, the stand, and the entrance reducer and those things, just make sure you're looking at the two hive bodies. So when I say there are two hive bodies, one body which is at the bottom is going to be used for honeybees to stay. That is going to be their home. That is where they are going to basically spend all their evenings and so on. And the second one which you see above is known as a super. They have also installed a honey super, but normally the second body is kept as a super. So when we say super, it is nothing but a storage chamber for all the honey. Honeybees produce honey excessive to what they need. So at any given point of the time, you can actually take out 60% of the honey from the hive, and they'll be left with rest 40, which is enough for them. To do this very effectively, what the beekeepers do is they include one more body or the honey super on the stand or in the structure. So it becomes easier because honeybees won't be staying there. It becomes easier. You take the hive, you take the super, and you get the honey out. There is one more thing that you might see here, that is the queen excluder sheet or the queen excluder board. Why is that? Because you might have seen that honeybees sometimes they swarm away or they go away from one place to another. If you mention that we spoke, if you remember that I have mentioned about the foragers, in case of changing their houses completely or changing their locations, there is a very different approach which they use. All the foragers are sent away to search for new possible areas to build new hives. This does not come under the hive which we are providing them with, but the natural ones. And once they are back, a meeting is basically set up. Each forager has to, in their own way, by dancing, by pheromones, has to basically convey and convince other foragers and finally the queen why the place which I have chosen is perfect. This can naturally happen because obviously at some point of the time our hive is not going to be a very optimum thing. It may be due to environment, it may be due to birds or any other things. So to avoid the queen from getting out of the hive, we put an excluder sheet. If you see that there is only a queen which is there, rest all the honeybees are gone, we take out the sheet and let the queen bee go as well, because then they accept her again. That is just one thing. Second thing is that coming back to our thing, when it comes to setting up your hive, you don't need any other tools. You need a basic knife, basically to cut the propolis because it sticks everything up. You also need a small knife like excluder, which helps us separate the frames which are there in the box, and that is most about it. Coming to the last part, best practices. I think there are 3-4 things which I want to tell you. One is that wherever there is even a single drop of pesticide use, honeybees can't stay there. If they try to consume, or if they try to just go from that area, travel from that area, if they inhale the pesticide, they die immediately. Eventually, the colony ends. So for any person to be a beekeeper, to be an apiarist, only one of the main thing that he or she needs is to communicate with your fellow neighbor farmers about the time when they are going to use the pesticide. This is all available on the internet. You can read a lot about it. But basically, the main thing to keep any hive, the best practice is that you know when your area is going to be under the pesticide influence, or when the spraying is going to be done. At that point of time, you can close the hive, you can keep some food for the bees, and they do not come out. One more thing when it comes to best practices is that there is a small mathematical formula about honeybees. So if you see certain number of workers, if you see that the cells have been developed which can now become the new queens, at that time while beekeeping you separate them out. So what is to be done is that you bring a new box without, or you bring a new beehive without any honeybees, and you keep the queens, you keep the queen and a few workers in the new hive. So eventually your one box transforms into two, and that number goes on increasing. Let me just give you a small example of how much time does it take. Let us say that any season in India lasts for about 3 to 4 months. So during just before winter, when we see a bit of flowering, there is greenery everywhere. Honeybees will, and post monsoon, because they cannot function effectively in the rain. So they'll go out, they'll collect honey, their reproductive cycles will be at its best. So there will be a lot many new cells, and finally the number will grow. At this time, from one box, if it is done very effectively, you can get honey, like more and more honeybees, as much as filling 3 bee boxes. So 1:3 is the growth rate if it is done very carefully. And then comes the business part of it. कि उसमें से इतना honey मिला, उसमें से इतना propolis मिला, उसमें से इतने pollens मिले, and so on. So that is one thing. Let me just show you one more thing. What happens in the frames which are over here? So this is a frame. I think you can see a frame here, right? A wooden frame with wax foundation. Yeah. So this is a similar frame, and this is a wax foundation sheet. Let us see what happens. The video is naturally on mute, so do not expect any sound. Just see what the bees are doing. They are basically expanding it using and secreting their own wax to go about it. We also have one more video. You can see that they are traveling. You can see that the central part is a bit yellow. That is because it is going to be more protected. It can be used for delivering their cells, I mean eggs. It can also be used for storing honey in certain cases. So you see yellowing in primarily central areas because it has been used much, and it is relatively more stronger than the end ones. And coming to the last part, this is how the frame fills up. Eventually, the end part, the corner at the bottom will also fill up, and this is what the bees would be doing on it. So the beekeeper over here was showing us that the honeybees would just give me a minute. So you can see that there is a small bulge over here that is going to be the new queen bee cell. So the moment the egg, I mean the larva hatches out or the adult comes out, it has been already fed with royal jelly. That is why its cell size also increases, and the new queen might come out of that. And you can see that even after handling them for so long, they do not harm any of us. So basically that. And yeah, and at last I want to tell you two, three things about what I do. Uh, like I work I'm a founder of an institute known as Entomon Institute for Invertebrate Zoology. There are three things which we do. Basically, public participation with citizen science. If you need any kind of knowledge, please feel free to put my mail. I'll ask Manoj ji to share my email with you. Feel free to connect with me. There is one more thing we do for kids here in Pune, and this year we have started doing it online as well. A Zooviz Kids Camp for all the kids, where they are introduced to different types of animals. How can they be good observers in nature for the insects, for the animals, and a good naturalist? That is the aim of Zooviz Kids Camp. And finally, we are working on an urban corridor project. Let me just tell you about it in a minute. Basically you might have heard in your friends that hey, I'm working on my garden. I'm planting these these four trees in my garden today. It so happens that most of the times we go for the trees which are more beautiful rather than which are serving the purpose of nature in our local areas. The project we are working on is basically we are collecting, or we are connecting with a lot of gardeners here in Maharashtra, Pune initially, and training them on what kind of plants you can have to gain more and more butterflies, to have more and more dragonflies, and basically put out an impact. And rest of the things you can find on my website. You can go towards Entomon Institute of Invertebrate Zoology, and that is it from my side. So thank you so much. Thank you, Manoj ji. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Eshaan. I can see there are people who have asked questions on the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just take a look.
One very interesting question I saw was, how can we save honeybee from bee-eater bird?
Yeah.
So are we talking about the honeybees that are that we rear, or we talking about saving the wild honeybees? Because I think as far as the wild honeybees are concerned, we need not save them. It's part of the ecosystem. They have to be somebody's diet. So I think Mr. Mukesh Singh has asked this question. Hi, am I audible?
Yeah. So Mukesh ji, like Manoj sir said, in the natural thing, in the natural ecosystem, the honeybees you find in the wild, we can't save them, and it is a part of the process. But for our beehives, for our apiary, we basically keep a few things, such as if you see a lot many birds, you need to keep a person who will basically shoo them away. Second thing is that bees also protect themselves. They are excess in number because they know the threat in the nature. So again, it basically is that. I think we have one more question. What is swarming, and during which season does it occur?
Sarvana Kumar. Hi, Sarvana. Good to have you here. So Sarvana is asking, just a minute. I lost. Please also tell us more about the cell phone towers and its impact on bees, especially on bumblebees that we hear about.
Yeah. So let me just clear one small confusion for you. The bees which we think are, so in India you do not find bumblebees, the actual bumblebees, but non honey bees, like the bees which are not honeybees. There are some carpenter bees, there are some other solitary bees as well. Uh, they and along with many other birds and insects are actually harmed by the cell phone towers. What happens is that along with like we saw the communication that goes through bee dance, honeybees and other insects, they basically decode their directions by using the earth as a huge compass. I hope you know what a compass does. So they connect with the magnetic directions of the earth as a compass, and then they decide where do they want to travel. You might have heard about the huge migrations of butterflies that takes from Canada to Mexico. So that is just one another example. If you have a lot many cell phone towers in the area, it sends all kinds of electromagnetic radiations and disturbs their perception towards direction. So that is in short what the cell phone does to the insects. I think Manojji, we also have a few questions before Sarvana mentioned their question.
So I can see another question. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Which says, what does royal jelly do to honeybees? I think this was addressed, but you can quickly reply to this.
Yeah. So royal jelly basically is a highly proteinaceous thing which is fed to the young bees, to the larva, to turn them into queen bees. What it does is basically it activates their reproductive system once they are adults.
And then we have another question from Joseph. How to prevent bees from deserting the box on a fine day, though they were pampered with sugar syrup?
Yeah, so there might be various reasons for the bees deserting the box. If you like, the first thing I urge all the beekeepers, and even I do it with my honeybees, is that basically check if the box has not been infected by any kind of fungus, or it has not been attacked by any other insects as well. You can see that in certain cases, honeybee boxes are actually attacked by ants, and it creates a problem because bees cannot directly fight with ants. Most of the ants that attack the box are actually smaller than the bees. So keeping it clean is one thing. Swarming season depends from region to region. In Maharashtra, we have seen that most of the swarming usually happens before winter or just in the early days of summer when everything has dried up. There is one more thing I want to tell you about swarming. After a certain point, if you see that your bees are always trying to get out and they are trying to leave the hive, it is a good practice to actually remove the queen separator sheet and let the bees go, or else the whole hive dies. It is very easier for us to basically get another set of bees once the box has been, rechecked and made sure that it is fit for the bees. But it is very difficult to cope up with the loss of bees. So if you see that swarming is happening on a regular basis, then let the bees go. You can, hire an expert who will tell you more about that and how you can gain more bees.
So we have another question from Mr. Raj Kishore.
Yeah.
What is swarming and during which season does it occur most frequently? Why does this happen?
So I have actually answered the question, but why does this happen is mainly because the environment which we are providing, or the natural environment in their natural hive, is not suitable for them. One more reason can be, a thumb rule is that honeybees travel up to 3 to 3.5 kilometers of the radius to gain their food. So if it so happens that in this radius, in this area, there is a lot of pesticides or there is unavailability of the food, honeybees then go out of their They go out of their homes and try to build a home in their in another area where it might be abundance in terms of food.
Yeah, thank you, Ishan. We have another question from Dilip Akoy.
Yes.
Mr. Dilip Akoy is also, the owner of the lodge. Uh, so he's asking for a farmer who wants to increase revenue from honey and other bee products. What sustainable practices should be considered?
Right. So for honey, let me also tell you about two things. So mainly getting the honey tested is one of the best way because in honey there are two major types. One is that certain honeybees uh, in certain areas they collect nectar from multiple flowers and they produce a honey which is known as multifloral honey because it has multiple pollens in it. As against that, there are certain honeybees which have which only go and visit single type of flowers, any if it is sunflower or like I mentioned, the flower from the potato plant and so on. They basically will collect the nectar only from that particular plant and they'll basically produce unifloral honey. So the revenue or the charges or the prices for the unifloral honey is relatively more than the multifloral honey. If you have places where you can plant trees and you can keep a bee box over there, we should ideally aim for the unifloral honey if the revenue thing is to be mentioned. Another sustainable practice which I would like to tell you is that in India, India is actually has the capacity and does some sort of exporting when it comes to bee products. But I think there is a lot of scope there which you can go ahead. So rather than just focusing on honey, going towards pollens, going towards propolis gets you more cost. You can find the cost on the internet. It varies from we are selling it to. Many pharmaceutical companies, if you have multiple bee boxes, directly they send their experts to collect all these products and they'll give you the revenue which you have decided upon. So I think that is one way to open up the business. Does it answer your question, Dilipji?
Right. So we have another very interesting questions. I'll first answer this one.
Yeah.
So why are some beehives, just a minute, it just moved up. Why are some beehives very peaceful
Yeah.
and some beehives are very aggressive towards passerbys? So I'll tell you, the ones that are not peaceful have figured out the actual meaning of mankind. It is man unkind.
Yeah. True. That is true.
But
One more.
please, for you, Ishan, to answer this,
Yeah,
this was a
so
little
it
joke.
also depends on what kind of what species of the bee it is. So in India, we primarily find four species of the bee, out of which we go for we can basically we can perform beekeeping on three species, and one, the Indian rock bee, which is huge in size. It is normally aggressive. It is one of the, what we can say, the behavioral trait that it has. Another thing, like I mentioned, if the beehive is in such a place where there is a lot of disturbance, it ultimately impacts them as well. And in certain cases, if you see that there is relatively less noise pollution, there is relatively less air pollution, and a lot of food for them, they are basically, they don't bother much about their surroundings unless they are disturbed.
Thanks,
Uh,
Ishan. There's another,
yeah.
sorry, somebody wants to say something? Somebody was saying something?
Sir, sir, we
Yes.
maintained two boxes, sir. In one box,
Yeah.
we collected some honey, nearly about 200 ml,
Okay.
after a month. But
Okay.
in the other box, it was not progressing in any way. Not
Okay.
even a drop of honey was found after 2
Okay.
months.
Okay.
That box only, the bees deserted us
Right. Okay.
last week.
So, yeah, so the reason could be that, so please make sure you have a lot of flowers and food for them. I think you might have made sure of that. But one more reason can be there is an imbalance in the numbers. So if you have done separation from one box to two boxes and the numbers have not been distributed properly, the frames have not been given in such a way that they can store the honey, and they have to focus on building the frame throughout the cells throughout the frame. It takes a lot of time for them to basically go towards honey production. So the number of bees when it comes to multiple boxes matters. You'll find a lot many things on the internet which states what is a good number to have in if you have three boxes which you have taken separation from one main box. Just that I'll be happy to share the resources with you as well. Yeah, okay. You can send me a mail and I'll send you rest of the details. But
Okay.
it
Okay.
all boils down to what surroundings do we have. You'll find that you'll never find one of the boxes producing way too much honey and the other box having similar number of individuals, similar ratio of workers to queen to foragers is producing less until there is some issue either inside the box or outside in the environment.
Sir, as an non-professional beekeeper,
Yeah.
can I identify the queen bee, sir? Is it possible?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Sir, I am an amateur beekeeper.
Okay.
Can I identify the
Yeah, you
queen
can
bees?
identify the queen bee. It is bigger in size. You can easily identify the drone as well. Actually, when it comes to the queen bee, when you just look carefully, even though anyone if you don't have any background in zoology, in entomology, beekeeping, you can still identify because it will at least be 1.5 times bigger than rest of your bees. That is how you identify the queen. And for identifying drones, there are two ways. One is that you will see that there is a small connection, bridge like connection between their eyes, the eyes which we see. So that is one way. And second is the moment you look towards its abdomen, it does not have a sting. For rest all the bees, you can clearly see a small sting present.
Sir, can there be more than one queen at a time in the
Yeah,
box?
it depends on what like the species and the size of the hive. But there have been hives which have been reported to have more than 2 to 3 queens at a single time. Normally, if there is more than one queen, there are three things which can happen. One is the queen one and the queen two will fight, and the winner queen decides or resides over the hive. There is one thing, if there is a new emerging queen, the old queen may take the step of deserting the hive with some of its followers and build a new hive somewhere else. And third is that if it is actually a huge hive, they distribute a few responsibilities among themselves and they'll work on their side of the hive and coexist.
Sir, what's the lifespan of the queen, sir?
For the queen bee, it depends. It depends somewhere about like from species to species, but on an average, uh, they can easily stay over a year also.
Sir, 1 year, sir? Sir, how
Yeah,
many years, sir? How many years?
almost till 1 year.
1 year alone. Okay,
Yeah,
sir. Okay.
on an
Thank you.
average. This is on an average. It
Okay, sir.
changes from
Okay.
species to species as well.
This applies to all types of bees,
Yeah.
honeybees, worker as well as male.
Also, we have a few questions in the chat box.
Yes, we have a couple of questions from my friend Sarvana Kumar. So he's asking, is there any particular beneficial reason why the honeycomb is in hexagonal shape?
Shape. Right. So yes, it is a reason. It is one of the most rigid shape to hold the weight that honeybees are putting in. I want you to imagine one bottle or any test tube. I'm pretty sure you might have seen a few. So if you start filling up a bottle when you have held it horizontally, you'll see that the weight in at least initially the weight is going to tilt the bottle towards the end. To avoid this, if all the bottles are stacked, the weight would be distributed. And if all of these are in the hexagonal structure, it will be very rigid. So rigidity is the only thing. One more thing is that if air and water are to pass in case of adverse environmental condition, the hexagonal shape again make sure that very less amount of water actually stays inside the cell, rest all flows out. And same goes for air, it is easier for the air to pass without disturbing the hive.
Wonderful. So we have a question from Sargam. Do we
Yeah.
have carpenter bees in Uttarakhand? If yes, where can we see them?
Yeah, you find carpenter bees very commonly in Uttarakhand. We actually have a few in JJR, Manojji.
Yes.
You might have seen carpenter bees. They are uh, bright, I'm sorry, they are actually dark blue with shiny blue wings. And
Yeah.
they create a very typical buzzing sound. You can also identify whether a
Yeah.
carpenter bees, whether it is staying at one particular place. You'll see that all the wooden logs that are used in building houses or that are just there in your garden, they'll have an exact circular bore done into them. So that is where the carpenter bees usually stay. So if you see such things, then you can confirm the presence of carpenter bees. You'll find them in any forests across Uttarakhand during. I think this would be a good season, bit when it is sunny, but not so much that even we can't get.
Okay. So Sarvana is again asking, the Oriental honey buzzard actually eats the beeswax and not the honey as per popular thought was right.
Uh,
I mean, he wants to know whether this is correct.
yeah.
So, so what does the Oriental honey buzzard feed on, the
So
beeswax or
actually,
honey?
in case of many multiple birds, not just the honey buzzard, it so happens that they go for the honey and the wax because they cannot, segregate the two. It is very difficult. Just imagine a scenario where there is a natural hive at about 40 feet on a huge tree, and the honey buzzard is actually, just for a thought, trying to drink the honey. It is very difficult for him to basically pierce every single cell and try to just take the honey out. It goes for everything, it catches at as much as it can, but it can digest both.
Hmm.
So the easier approach for any animal attacking the hive is to basically attack a lot of area, just get all you can. Along with that, most of the times, even small larvae, small eggs, they enter. But there has not been a report where they are, something like they are discarding it or they are allergic. They can basically consume it all.
Wonderful. So then there is a question from Pansing. Is there any record of death in humans by honeybee stick?
There have been, but in extreme cases only. So, but on the other hand, let me also bring you. So these days there is one therapy which most of the peoples are going towards. That is the honeybee therapy. If certain patients who are suffering from arthritis or joint pains, they are given bee stings in very less numbers, which helps ease the joint pain. And in case of deaths, there have been deaths, especially with farmers, where a farmer tried to take down the honeybees, like the beehive, and a lot of honeybees basically attacked them. So it is there, but it is not very, very common.
It's a rare,
Yeah.
rare occurrence.
And
Rare
it is easier if anyone is trying to handle the bees. You wear a basic full trouser, a full shirt, maybe a hat, even if you don't have a veil, and a scarf around your face. Hardly a few bees might attack, like actually pierce through even that much.
So I think with this, we more or less come to the end of the question answer session.
Yeah.
It was a very, very insightful session for us. Thank you, Eshaan. Thank you all the participants for being here. And I must point out that we will be doing more such interesting, intriguing, topics on this platform called Jungle Secrets online sessions. Please watch out for more information on what is happening on Jim's Jungle Retreat social media handles. Thank you very much for everybody for being here. And once again, thanks, Eshaan.
Thank you. Thank you so much, JJR and Manoj ji.